Most people think caffeine gives you energy. It doesn't. It borrows it from tomorrow. I learned that the hard way. When I quit caffeine after 40, my body had to relearn how to make real energy, the kind that doesn't come from a cup. So today, I'm breaking down 7 things that actually happen when you quit caffeine after 40 and why life feels better on the other side. I'm Kevin. I'm a holistic nutritionist in training. I'm a drummer, a dad of a couple teenagers. I was dealing with fatigue, inflammation, ADHD, the list goes on. Doctors had me on meds for all of it. But through fasting, clean, plant-based nutrition, and a total lifestyle change, I got off all the medication and rebuilt my energy from the inside out. My mission now is to help people over 40 simplify their nutrition, get their energy back, and take control of their life. Number 1 is you realize that you've been living on borrowed energy. Caffeine doesn't give you energy, it forces your body to spend what it doesn't have. It's like maxing out your credit card every morning and pretending it's income. You feel rich for a few hours, but that crash that comes later, that's the bill collector knocking. What caffeine really does is trigger your stress response. It floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol, the same hormones your body releases in a fight or flight situation. So think about that. Every time you sip that latte or even quote unquote healthy green tea, your body gears up like there's danger. Your heart rate rises, your blood pressure goes up, and you're alert, but not because you're rested, it's because you're stressed out. The Journal of the American Heart Association has shown that caffeine literally activates the sympathetic nervous system. You think, man, I'm wired and productive. But what's really happening is your body's using survival energy to get through a normal day where you're probably not being chased by tigers, let's be honest. I realized I'd been mistaking stimulation for energy my entire adult life. For decades, I wasn't energizing my body, I was draining it. I was borrowing energy from tomorrow every single day and wondering why I was still tired and still crashing every afternoon. And after 40, our bodies really stop forgiving it. Our nervous system is already overworked. Don't confuse being wired with being awake. But once you step off that caffeine roller coaster, you realize you were never running out of energy. You were just wasting it on the wrong fuel. So if you feel like you're always just 1 cup away from functioning, maybe it's not your energy that's broken, maybe it's the way you've been borrowing it. All right, number 2, the first week feels like a fog. When you first quit caffeine, the world feels like it's moving in slow motion. Your brain's foggy, your focus is gone, and your body feels like it's made of concrete or something like that, right? Don't fret. You're not broken, you're just detoxing. Caffeine works by blocking a chemical in your brain called adenosine. Adenosine is the messenger that says, hey, it's time to rest, dude. You've earned a break. But when caffeine's in your system, those adenosine receptors get silenced. The message never gets through. So your brain, trying to compensate, builds more of those receptors over time. Then one day, you quit caffeine. And suddenly your brain's flooded with adenosine. All those extra receptors that it had been building up are screaming, we're exhausted. That's the fog. That's the exhaustion. It's not weakness, it's just your nervous system waking up from years of artificial stimulation. I knew that the fog wasn't failure, it was me healing my overstimulated nervous system. So if you're in that early stage, you're tired, irritable, wondering if it's worth it, you're not going backward, you're just remembering how to rest. All right, number 3. Your brain chemistry resets. Once the fog starts to lift, amazing things happen. Your brain chemistry begins to reset. You start noticing motivation that isn't forced. It's like your mind finally takes a deep breath. See, caffeine doesn't just block adenosine, it also hijacks your dopamine system. In case you don't know, dopamine's your brain's motivation molecule. It's what makes you chase and build and create. But when you hit those same dopamine circuits with caffeine day after day, your brain starts outsourcing motivation to the cup instead of your life. So when you quit caffeine, your dopamine receptors start working the way they're supposed to. You stop chasing tiny artificial highs and you start feeling genuinely motivated again. Caffeine tricks your brain into feeling productive, but it's not true focus, it's just urgency. Once you remove it, you rediscover the difference between being either busy or present. All right, number 4, sleep becomes your superpower. I didn't realize how badly caffeine was wrecking my sleep until I quit. For decades, I told myself I just wasn't a good sleeper. But once caffeine was gone, everything changed. My sleep started to reset itself. No more tossing and turning, no racing thoughts, no waking up with my mind already halfway through the next day. Well, the science backs it up. A 2017 review in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine showed caffeine disrupts deep sleep in every population that was studied, even at moderate doses, even if you drink it early enough. Why? The same adenosine we just talked about, the molecule that builds up throughout the day to make you feel tired at night. Deep sleep is where your body repairs its tissue, balances hormones, and resets your nervous system. You don't build energy by adding caffeine, you build it by recovering properly. All right, number 5, your heart and nervous system calm down. Once my sleep came back online, I started noticing something even deeper. My entire nervous system began to calm down. The jittery energy, the racing heart, the background tension, which I thought was just my personality. I used to feel like I had this internal buzz running 24/7. I blamed anxiety. Once I cut it out, my body finally got the signal. My heart rate started to slow down. My breathing slowed down. That low-grade stress I'd normalized for decades, it just wasn't there anymore. So studies do show that caffeine can cause dose-dependent increases in blood pressure, even in healthy adults. In sensitive people, or anyone over 40, it can even trigger heart palpitations or arrhythmias. After 40, your nervous system doesn't bounce back like it used to. You can't just keep slamming the gas pedal without blowing the engine. Quitting caffeine was like finally letting my foot off the gas and realizing how peaceful control can be. And when your nervous system calms down like that, something incredible starts to happen. Real sustainable energy begins to return, which leads us right into number 6. Real energy starts to return. This is where it gets good. Once you make it through the fog and your nervous system calms down, real energy starts to come back. The kind of energy that doesn't spike and crash. The kind that builds during the day instead of disappearing. It's steady, it's clean, and it feels honest. I realized caffeine had never been giving me energy. It had been blocking me from creating it myself. Energy isn't something you consume, it's something you create by how you live. Sleep, fasting, clean food, sunlight, hydration, that's real fuel. You can feel the difference between borrowed energy and real vitality, and once you've felt that, no drink can compete. Most people don't even give themselves the chance to feel it once. All right, number 7, you find out who you are without stimulation. So this last one might sound a bit dramatic, and I get it, but it's the truth. When you quit caffeine, you find out who you actually are without the noise. For me, it wasn't just about breaking a habit, it was about discovering what my real baseline felt like. I'd spent decades thinking I was just this high-strung, overthinking, fast-talking guy. But it turns out that it was just my nervous system on a 35-year caffeine drip. Once that stimulation was gone, I started to notice a stillness I hadn't felt since I was probably a kid. I wasn't rushing to the next thought. I wasn't pushing through the day. I was just present, happy to just be. Neuroscientists say that when you stop artificially spiking dopamine with things like caffeine, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that controls focus, awareness, and emotional regulation, starts to stabilize. That means you literally think clearer and you feel deeper. You become more of yourself. Caffeine numbs subtle emotions, but once it's gone, you start noticing things you've been too wired to feel, despite how you may think you feel those things now on caffeine. When you stop chasing stimulation, you start living in harmony with your body. You eat when you're hungry, you sleep when you're tired, and you stop fighting yourself. And that's when I realized that caffeine wasn't helping me live better, it was keeping me from meeting the version of myself that was capable of living better without it. So if you're over 40 and still running on caffeine just to get through the day, I'm not here to judge. I've lived that life, but I can tell you from experience, there is a version of you that's on the other side of that cup. And that version is a calm, focused, patient, grounded individual that you probably haven't met yet. And once you do, you'll never want to go back. Caffeine withdrawal is temporary, but the rewards are permanent. You will experience deeper restorative sleep, lowering your anxiety and blood pressure, more stable mood and focus without the constant dopamine spikes, improved digestion and nutrient absorption. But the biggest one for me was peace. I'm serious. That deep inner calm peace that comes from not depending on anything external, it's amazing. Quitting caffeine after 40 isn't just a detox, it's a reunion. It's you meeting the most natural, balanced, and capable version of yourself that you've felt maybe in decades. So here's my challenge to you. Give yourself 30 days caffeine-free. No coffee, no black tea, no energy drinks, just hydration, sleep, and natural rhythm. You'll go through the fog, you'll want to quit, but on the other side of that wall, your real energy is waiting. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who thinks caffeine equals energy.